Welcome to the HVAC Guide live show where we talk about all things HVAC that no one is talking about. I've got a little bit of a different setup tonight. I did a class today for some heating and air professionals down in Virginia Beach. It's like 2 hours from me, and I left the adapter that I use for the camera I usually use. So this is a little different looking. Let me know what you think, good or bad. Probably bad. I mean, it's my face, right? So, uh, pretty interesting topic tonight. If you're joining us, say hello in the chat and where you're located. Always love to see where that is. Hello to Marlene from the Gulf Coast of Florida. Very cool, Hernando County. So hopefully you guys were safe amid the recent tragedies, and thank you for joining us. Um, so yeah, I've got an interesting show for you guys. I've got a couple articles I'm going to touch on, and I've also got some crazy clips that I want to show you guys. So pretty jam-packed show. And of course, we'll be answering your questions live. So if you've got any heating and air questions, feel free to say hello. Hey to Ryan, good to see you. 3 foot of water in the house. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, sending prayers to you folks down there. It's been an interesting year on that front. Um, I don't know. I don't even know what to say on that front. I just pray for you guys, and it's just crazy because the most interesting thing for me is I've always lived on the at least not on the coast, but in a coastal state. So when I lived in the mountains of Virginia, maybe not so much, but now I live on the coast of Virginia, or at least close to it. And when I was a kid, the hurricanes would always kind of like swoop up. Now they'd always take different paths and so on, but the paths that some of them have taken this year it's just been interesting. It's been very different and obviously very tragic. So that said, Haymarket, Virginia. Haymarket, Virginia. Welcome to the show. Where is Haymarket? I'm in Virginia. Haymarket. You're up north. Okay, so you're close to DC. Interesting. Okay. Very cool. Well, welcome. Marlene says she has a couple AC questions. When you were taking questions, thanks for the opportunity. Oh yeah, definitely drop some questions. In fact, Steve, hey buddy, good to see you. It's been a while. Steve is smarter than I am, so any questions that I don't know, he would be able to answer. 35 minutes west of DC. Yeah, I was just in DC a couple weeks ago, and we've got some really cool videos. I know it's like a YouTuber's job to promote, hey, watch my upcoming videos, but for real, keep an eye out for my the video we have coming up for DC. I don't want to say it's my favorite video that I've ever done, but it's I don't want to say that. I mean, it was such a cool experience, and I don't want to give anything away, but definitely keep an eye out. We're waiting on approvals from the sponsor of that video. As soon as we get a final approvals and the final edits done, that video is set to launch. I'm not going to waste any time. So I'm hoping we get that in the next couple weeks. Get all final and all final edits done and get that video launched. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever made, period. So definitely keep an eye out for that. So Steve says he knows nothing. He is lying. So yeah, let's jump to tonight's topic. And again, if you guys have any heating and air questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. But I thought this was an interesting topic because I was talking to a friend of mine the other night, and he is like a really smart guy, way smarter than me. And he is working on some different things. He builds software to make jobs easier for technicians. Let me see if I can shorten this up a little bit for you guys so it's easier to read. Did that help? Let's see. Yeah, that helped a little bit. So Anyway, he and I were talking, and so he's working on a software to help business owners and customers connect better. So like different things like if there's already CRMs that do some of this stuff, like notifying the customer if the technician's on the way. Some of the things like following up with the customer automatically. Some of the things like notifying them if something is due, and all this different automated technologies. And he's actually working on some other things that I don't want to give away because maybe it's proprietary and I don't know. But he's a really smart guy. But one of the things he was talking about is the future of tech support and how AI is playing a big role in a lot of this. And I don't know. I'm not saying it'll never happen, but I think we're a long way from happening. We're a long way from a technician being able to call a robot and just have full tech support, have the same um, communication that you would with a human, the same, you know, um, I don't know, like the quirks of our job, right? The quirks of, well, I hear you saying that's your incoming voltage, but is the disconnect pushed all the way in, right? Like quirks, right? Little nuances of the job that maybe a robot might not quite have a grasp on yet, right? So I don't know that we'll ever get to a point where it's like completely, where we, or at least not anytime soon. But the hope and dream here is that some of this stuff can help alleviate long wait times for technicians and also get to a quicker solution. I can tell you that at our company, we would sometimes call tech support just to simply have some backing, right? So if the part actually wasn't the problem that tech support told us to replace, then at least we've got some ground to stand on when they say, well, we're not going to honor the warranty, right? And so we would call tech support for different reasons and things like that. But at the end of the day, if there was some sort of AI technology that, number one, could actually help you and get to you much quicker than a human, but number two, actually be so impressive that you don't even know that you're not talking to a human. Because that's what's interesting about some of this stuff. And we're actually seeing it. I'm going to go over a couple articles. This is not pie in the sky stuff. It's happening. This stuff is happening as we speak. Let's see. I'll get back to that in just a moment. Smokey says, does the replacement refrigerant for 410 heat pump units gonna provide higher supply air temperatures during winter operations? So they do, as I understand it, and what I'm being told is they do operate better at low ambient temperatures. Both of them. One of them better than the other, but both of them. Linda says, are mini splits a good alternative to having a heat pump? There's exceptions to every rule, but I think yes. They are a good alternative. Um, they do make mini split heat pumps. They make mini split straight ACs as well, but they do make excuse me, they do make mini splits that are heat pumps. And some of them are pretty impressive. In fact, that video that I'm talking about that we went to DC, there was a unit that we were able to lay hands on, and it was 17 degrees for outdoor temperatures, and it still had a 50-degree heat rise on the indoor unit, which is like a gas furnace. 50-degree heat rise is pretty impressive for a heat pump, for a mini split heat pump in 17-degree weather. And so I know some of you folks that live up north, 17 degrees is you're wearing a short sleeve shirt on a 17-degree day. But folks like me, we're going to be bundled up. I'm going to have 5 layers on in 17-degree weather. And it's just really impressive how far heat pumps have come, right? Steve says mini split heat pumps are basically the same. I'm going to disagree with you on that, Steve. I think some of them are better than others, right? I think some of them are cheaper and you kind of get what you pay for on that front, but we can agree to disagree maybe, or maybe I'm misreading what you wrote there. Smokey, I don't think so. It's just another refrigerant doing the same thing. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to be leaps and bounds better, but they are telling us. So where you're seeing units now, like it seems like a lot of them will have a rating of somewhere around uh 5 degrees Fahrenheit, and then you'll see like the hyperheat models with the oversized compressor get all the way down into like negative 13 degrees. I know some of the models. We're being told that with these new refrigerants, we're now going to start seeing models with even lower low ambient operation temperatures, significantly lower, right? Like negative 30, and it still be at 100% capacity. So that'll be interesting. At least that's what I'm literally just regurgitating something that was told to me. I don't know that. I've not laid hands on that yet, but that is what we're being told. In your opinion, which is more prudent? Uh, in your opinion, which is more prudent? Give me a little more context. Sorry. Heat pumps are becoming more efficient. Daikin has an ingenious design. Daikin is one of the sponsors on our show, and so I'm a fan. They're who we installed at my company, and for a number of reasons. And we talk about them quite a bit on our YouTube channel. So install a 410 heat pump unit while they're still available, or install newer units with newer refrigerant. Do we have an indication of how reliable they are going to be? Well, R32 systems, you have a good indication because R32 is in 410. So 410A is a blend of half R32 and half a refrigerant called 125. And so R32 is nothing new to us, but it's also nothing new, period. So they've been using straight R32 units for decades overseas. The other thing is the other refrigerant that some of the brands are going with, which is 454B, is also majority of it. It's a blend, and it is majority R32. It's almost 70% R32. So do we have any indication of how reliable they're going to be? I would say yes. So, inverter or not, I don't disagree, but comparatively, heat pumps are improving. New technology is coming. Amen. Amen. 454B is just 32 and 1234. Yep, 1234, which is the refrigerant that we're seeing put in a lot of cars today. For those of you that have been following our YouTube channel and following this whole refrigerant change, and all three of them are A2Ls. So all three of them being R32, 454B, and 1234YF. All of those are A2L refrigerants. They're flammable, but they're not highly flammable in comparison to some of the other refrigerants that are out there. And because of that, we need to be serious. I don't know that we need to be fearful. They've been using these refrigerants for years overseas, but I think we do need to make sure that we're being serious and safe, right? Maybe just maybe a little less DIY stuff, right? That's what's really crazy to me is there's still DIY stuff being sold with these refrigerants. So either you can't have it both ways. You can't be a homeowner that's fearful of these new refrigerants and DIY this stuff and maybe, do something that could cause a big problem, right? Um that's what's interesting to me. I think it's always been interesting to me when folks can buy refrigerants and not have the same obstacles that folks in the trade have to buy equipment or refrigerants with those refrigerants. But that's a whole nother topic. And I know not everyone agrees. So you may disagree with that. Mitigation is going to be the trick. The air handler fan in the ceiling. Yeah, so these new units do have mitigation. Any system that has more than 4.1 pounds of an A2L refrigerant in it will have an air sensor a refrigerant sensor in there, and calls that system to go into mitigation. I know Steve does a lot more commercial stuff, and so that's the case for residential. I'm not sure what those parameters are for commercial, if they're the same or different. But back to the matter at hand, let's talk real quick on this article here. Chat GPT style AI tool for HVAC takes aim at labor shortage. Trained on 50,000 HVAC tech support calls, the app answers HVAC troubleshooting questions with 96% accuracy, according to its creators. And, I think there's exceptions to every rule, as I said that. I do also want to say that this is not sponsored by these folks. No one has sponsored our show from an AI standpoint. We have talked to a couple of sponsors once or twice, but, we just, point being, they have not sponsored our show. So I'm not trying to highlight them. I'm not trying to sell you something. The year is 2025, and 20 something HVAC technician is in the basement on a service call. She's new on the job. It's heating season. It's one of her first service calls on her own, and she's running into an issue with the furnace. Stumped, she pulls out her iPhone, but not to call her service manager. Instead, she opens an app. What causes a rollout switch error on a 90+% gas furnace, she says. And then the app spits out a rollout switch error on a 90+ gas furnace can be caused by several factors. Some possible causes included, and I'm not going to read all of these, but cracked heat exchanger, slit inside the heat exchanger, gas pressure issues, dirty burners, flame rollout. So gives them a few issues there. Not your typical chat GPT response. I will say, because anyone that, fights this and says, oh, this is, what about this? What about that? What about it missed this or that? I would actually argue that in contrast to that what about how many folks overlook something, and maybe, just maybe, this gives them, oh, I didn't even consider checking the soot inside the heat exchanger. I checked everything else. The gas pressures look good, and the switch itself, and et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't even think about, checking the soot inside it. I mean, I don't know, just something interesting there. Not your typical chat GPT response, eh? That's because it isn't chat GPT. Skimming generic internet content in an attempt to match a technician's detail-oriented query, quite the reverse. This AI has been trained on 50,000 HVAC tech support calls from master HVAC mechanics and answers HVAC troubleshooting questions with 96% accuracy. Let's see. Let me skim through some of this stuff. I think I actually do like what it said there about that it's not just skimming the internet, because the internet does have a lot of, as we know, misinformation, and probably a lot of noise, and probably a lot of stuff that a technician just, let's get to the meat and potatoes and not so much fluff type deal, right? Let's see. I'm just skipping through a few things on this article. So it looks like there's a quote here. So when a technician asks a question, they have a high degree of confidence it's going to be accurate. What's really cool about it is it works for commercial. About 35% of our calls are commercial, which are a whole different level of complexity. And the AI really shines in the commercial world, where you have very specific questions and a very specific issue. So sounds like it works for commercial stuff. Historically, Gen X and boomers learn by memorization and training. That's not the way millennials and Gen Zs learn. They learn by indexing and resourcing. And I think the industry has not figured that out yet. HVAC is still caught in the 90s. And so doing this to enable this new set of technicians that come out and have access to tools and training that will let them learn their way. I definitely think this is a good thing. I'm not saying it's not. I don't think that it 100% addresses some of the issues that we have in our trade from an education standpoint, and also a protection standpoint for the homeowners when they do call a technician and they are underqualified and don't seem to have the motivation to learn the trade, right? And so that still needs to be there. And but I do think having an extra place to look, an extra place to get information, is certainly not a bad thing. Seaton HVAC says, what happened to the other channel? Both channels, we're streaming to both channels as we speak. And And I'm actually glad you asked that question because we are taking a new direction with some of our content. So we still have our channel here called HVAC Guide for Homeowners, and we're going to continue to offer information that, in my opinion, no one else is offering to homeowners. And so we're going to continue to do that and try to, as I've always said, give mom some advice if mom's about to buy a heating and air system, right? That's our goal here. But the other channel, so there's the channel called HVAC Guide for Homeowners. The other channel is called HVAC Guide, simply HVAC Guide. And that channel is the one that was labeled HVAC Guide Live Show. And that channel is going to be mostly for pros. We're going to talk about things that pros need to know about upcoming things, changes, news in the industry, and so on. And also, again, be a place that is providing information that no one else is providing. And that's my goal. I want to be different. I don't want to keep just be another run of the mill show. It's one of the reasons why the last couple weeks I decided to just get back to this, where I'm answering questions and not have certain guests. I don't want to be a part of the loop, if you will, when guests are just making their loop. Oh, I'll hit this show, that show, and every show is they're pretty much saying the same stuff. I want to go in a little deeper, and I'm not saying we're not going to have guests, because we are. We're going to have guests again in the future, but I don't want you to see our show and then see another show and it seem identical. And so I think there's some great shows. I think there's some great content out there, but if they're all the same, then what's the point? What's the point of having multiple shows and channels and opinions and so on? So that's kind of what we're doing here. We're trying to be different. If you want to be a part of that, if you want to continue to follow that, then hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button, and we're going to continue to do that. We're going to keep trying to be a place that's different, right? Steve says, I actually moved to the dark side. Manufacturing controls mitigation is basically the same. Dilution is the solution. Amen. I like the way you wrote that. I assume that was on purpose, but in case it wasn't, it just kind of rolls off the tongue there, doesn't it? So you're on manufacturing controls. Can you tell us more, Steve? I'm just curious. Regarding the new refrigerant during installation or repair, are brazing techniques the same, and will nitrogen still be used to pressure the system to verify leak and tight integrity? Yes. So all of those questions, the new refrigerants are, again, 410A was half R32. So a lot of the techniques, the practices, one of the interesting things that a lot of the educators out there are saying is a lot of the things that were considered best practice before they're now required. You're now dealing with a flammable refrigerant, a mildly flammable refrigerant, and you could be the reason that it leaks into someone's home. And so because of that, brazing with nitrogen, purging with nitrogen, doing a proper triple evacuation on that system, all of those things are now required. A lot of technicians are almost they're almost kind of being called out now. They're being found. They're being found out when they're cutting corners, and it's I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it is a thing, right? Our rental duplex was flooded too, wondering if I should return to conventional units or mini splits. One side is 1,000 square feet, one is 700 square feet. There are definitely mini splits. You're down there in Florida, you don't even have to worry about low ambient temperatures. So you probably could do, either a 1 or 2 zone or 3 zone for that matter. But now you're talking large capacity. So 1 or 2 zone mini split and take care of those spaces. Obviously, if you have an apartment and, the unit is in the studio part of the apartment, whether it be the, let's just say the living room or slash bedroom is what I'm envisioning for a studio apartment. And then they go into the bathroom and close the door. Obviously that they're not going to be getting cool air into that bathroom at that moment, but there's other things you can do for that, such as Steve said, adding ventilation. Of course, you got your exhaust fan in the bathroom, and then you also have these things called through the wall fans where you can bring fresh air or conditioned air into that space. So we've done videos on that stuff. The same, as long as you are following best practices, nitrogen is still used to purge and pressurize. Yep, yep, yep. Ryan says younger people want transparency. I agree. That's what this is all about, right? They want to know what's up. What are you hiding? Yes, I am going to stand there while you do your work. Or maybe not awkwardly stand there while you do your work, but maybe hide uh, a hidden camera and keep an eye on you, right? That's kind of what I see a millennial or a Gen Z type new homeowner doing, right? I guess Gen Zs are getting old enough now to be able to buy a home. Some of them, maybe. I'm going to need to get up to speed with mitigation practices. Please advise. Thank you. There's not really, to be completely honest with you, there's not a lot to get up on. These systems are going to have sensors in there. The main thing is, if you are the main scenario that I'm seeing folks talk about is if you are reusing a furnace or installing a furnace that doesn't have the A2L rating on it, but you're going to pair it with a coil and an outdoor unit that is A2L. So let's just say you're going to do an R32 outdoor unit, a matching coil, and reuse the existing furnace. That sensor has to have something to plug into. And so they're making boards and controls for that to be able to tell that system to go in mitigation mode. So that's really the only thing that I can think of that's too crazy. Other than that, mitigation is not that new to our industry. That's what's interesting to me when I hear folks almost kind of complaining about these new changes, or they're, oh, here we go. Mitigation is not that new. Anybody that's ever worked on a furnace, we have seen limit switches that if they open, it causes that system to constantly run the indoor fan motor. So it's not, it's really not that big of a change, if you will. Now, these sensors are a change in a sense that we've never had something like that doing what they do on sensing a refrigerant leak. Some of us would argue that that's a long time coming, that we should have always had something like that. But mitigation itself is really not that new of a thing in our industry. I remember oil furnaces years ago that, the inducer fan would constantly run if a certain limit switch opened, or it's just, it's not that, it's not going to blow guys out of our trade because they can't understand it. It's not that big of a technology, right? I came here because no one was in the other stream. Research Smoky, almost forgot. Oh, almost everything will have mitigation refrigerant sensor that ventilates or shuts the unit down. Yeah, anything with more than 4.1, I think that's what it is. The threshold is 4.1 pounds of a A2L refrigerant in that system will have that sensor and mitigation. Hey Josh, Brian from Central California. Hey Brian, in the field for 4 years this year. Just wanted to say you have great content. Keep up the great work. Thanks, pal. Thank you very much. Central California. I've never been to Central California, but my wife and I went to Beverly Hills one time, and I was that tourist with the high socks and the fanny pack and you know, the glasses that, the flip up glasses. I don't know. That's what I picture when I think of a tourist. But we went to Hollywood, and this was all pre-COVID. It was fun. Steve says, hit that like. I agree, Steve. If you guys like content like this, or HVAC, or cool air, or warm air, hit that like button. KCC, same place I've been, just on manufacturing. We are a partner with Train. Okay, very cool. Very cool. Ryan says, I ask questions and build a relationship with the tech. If they don't like it, they don't get invited back. Both parties probably like that outcome. I'm a friendly helicopter that is curiously learning. I think that that's normal. We're seeing more of that. We're seeing folks. I did a whole video on that. Where homeowners like to hover or helicopter or whatever verbiage you use, but you know, they want to know what's going on. They want to know what exactly you're doing. And I've always said, there are guys in our trade that would disagree with me. They would say, if a homeowner's looking over my shoulder, I don't need another boss, and I'm gonna raise my prices and all these different things, right? But I've just always said, if you're not okay with the homeowner standing there, what are you trying to hide? Why are you so nervous? Just do your job and be a friend. you know, they might even give you a tip. That's not uncommon for homeowners to give you a little gratuity because you did a good job and you were nice to them, right? Steve says, I thought it was 3.9, but same difference. Yeah, I don't know. I'm regurgitating some of that info, pal. I could be wrong on that. So back to our article. I've actually got a couple articles, but if you talk to any service manager, 30 to 40% of their day is taken by answering relatively easy questions that they have to deal with because, again, back to the labor shortage, it's a huge time saver in a contractor organization and allows tech support in a way that it cannot be done currently because there's just not enough master mechanics out there to answer the questions that are coming in. The app is a scaled mentor. Now, every new tech can have a mentor they can lean on, and they don't feel stupid if they are calling their service manager. I don't think again, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. And we knew this was coming. It's going to I'm not sure how old the boomers are now, but when the baby boomer generation started retiring, and all the folks that were in that generation and they learned this trade and they were training folks in my generation starting to retire, and that big generation population wise. And for a while there, and I think it's still going on, at least to a degree, and it's just people are not filling their shoes as much. So that's part of this. Let's see. Steve says, I never minded answering questions or people watching me work. Smokey says, will mitigation include a sniffer that is pulling air into the sensor that and then send on the error message to the T-stat? And will mechanical operation be immediately shut down? So when they first started coming out with this, I actually sat through a couple classes where they said this would be a hard lockout and it would kill the outdoor unit. But as I understand it, that is not the case. That the equipment that we've been laying hands on, it's not a hard lockout. The outdoor unit and the system itself can continue to operate as needed if the thermostat calls. Uh, this alarm or sensor rather simply brings on the indoor fan motor if it senses a refrigerant leak, if it senses refrigerant, and just causes that fan to bring fresh air through that system. So as I understand it, and now again, there's exceptions to every rule, so don't be sending me hateful messages. I get those from time to time. I was getting some this morning actually from a guy. I'm like, man. Anyway, it's as I understand it, it's not a hard lockout on that front. The other thing that I'll note there that you just noted is I do think that a lot of communicating systems probably will have an error message pop up on their thermostat. So a system that can send error messages, if you've got that communicating system, that thermostat could say, "Hey, there's a problem here. Call your technician," and you'll know to do that. So what's the process for resetting the mitigation alarm? I think it just goes back to as soon as it's not sensing the refrigerant leak anymore, then it may be there may be a delay there as far as the operation of the fan, but it won't. There's nothing to reset as far as I understand it. Thanks for the information. You're welcome, pal. Dilution is the solution. There will be sensors near possible leak points and shut everything down except the blower to ventilate. On commercial, 5-minute delay after sensor is no longer an alarm. Yeah, I wired new mitigation sensors into a 40 ton recently, and that's the operation. Yeah, I sat through a class with that's where exactly what they said, that it would kill the outdoor unit. But I was looking at the controls and it, you know, like those old or not old, not they still make them, but the polycarbonate cabinet air handlers that Train makes, and there's that Y in and Y out. And every time I would hire someone new, they would tie them all together, right? And which defeated the purpose of having that. And but if the controls do not have a Y in and Y out, and that signal is coming from the thermostat and it continues to just go straight outside, then there's no way that that sensor would have the ability to stop that, right? Unless it operated like a float switch and killed everything, and I don't think they do. So, uh, it's sent as far as the ones that I've laid hands on and saw the controls for, it just senses that refrigerant leak and brings on that indoor fan motor and brings that fresh air through there. So that's the mitigation. Again, I'm sure there's exceptions to every rule. I'm not saying that there aren't systems out there that aren't a hard lockout. But it is hard to find the sensors at this point. Less manufacturers were ahead of the game. I have not had to purchase one of those sensors yet, so I actually would not know anything about that. We were pretty much we hit the ground running tonight. So let me take just one moment and thank the sponsor of tonight's show. I want to thank the sponsor of tonight's show, EasyFit Isolator Valves. I've seen a lot of products in my years of doing HVAC and plumbing, but I haven't seen many where I've said every HVAC and plumbing service vehicle should have one of those. The EasyFit Isolator Valve is one of those products. I personally think so many jobs in my past, having one of these would have made my and my customers' lives so much better. This valve can allow for easy installation without shutting off the main water shutoff, making so many applications possible. The homeowner or business owner stays operational while the HVAC mechanic or plumber looks like the hero. I'll put a link in the description of this video or the chat. Get yourself one today to have on hand for that emergency we all know will come. Smokey says, is this due in part for the flammability of the refrigerant? I think the answer is yes. I think it's due almost 100% because of that. So at the end of the day, even if the refrigerant isn't as flammable as say other refrigerants, we still don't want a pocket of this stuff just sitting in an air handler or in a coil. A bunch of this stuff has leaked out. There's a density of it just kind of sitting there, and then all of a sudden it get ignited in some way. So that's the idea here. We want fresh air being pulled through there, and Steve says that's why you dilute. The larger rooftop units only shut down everything if the leak is detected in the control cabinet. Anything airstream has to ventilate. So man, a lot of questions rolling in tonight, guys. This is great. Steve, I appreciate you being here too, man. You've been answering questions, and this has been a lot of fun. This almost feels nostalgic. This is what the show used to feel like, and we got away from it, and I'm glad to get back to it. This was what we used to do, and this is how we built the show. At one point, we were having 40 or 50 people on here at any given time, and the chat was just rolling. And so that's what we're going to get back to, right? Ryan says, will installers be able to buy these new A2L systems without verifying training from supply houses or manufacturers? I think the answer to that is yes. I'm not going to get into all the ins and outs of that and why I believe that, but I believe the answer to that is yes. Installers are being able to purchase this equipment. There are companies offering certifications and licenses and all these different things with these new refrigerants, and they don't hold that much weight from what I can tell. Meaning, if you have a CFC license, you can still purchase and handle these refrigerants with or without that certification. So, yeah. Steve says, I've been busy with the job change, haven't been around recently. I can relate, man. So I took a job earlier this year, and things are different. I've been busier. Um, Priorities are different. I have to prioritize my schedule differently to make sure that I get certain things done, and especially with our YouTube stuff, and make sure that we're getting good stuff out there, especially when new stuff comes out, making sure that I take the time to get that out there. And of course, it doesn't help when you got a family and stuff too, right? Ryan says, I see videos where companies are using this new equipment update to scare people into buying 410A systems now, even if they don't need to new systems. Yes, yeah, that's something that I've been seeing as well. In fact, I think I saw a commercial where they were saying that. Like you know, it's now's the time. You better hurry up and buy a system or the world is ending. So, yeah, I've seen that too, pal. Let's see. I've got that other article I want to show you guys, but before I do that, there was a couple, let me see if I can find. There was a couple clips that I wanted to show you guys that hopefully I can get them to play. Let me hold on one second here. I'm just making sure that this is some of these clips I'll sometimes grab when I see them. I'll save them, but sometimes they're not rated G. Not that they're like nudity, but like if they're dropping an F bomb, for example. So then I know I need to keep the sound off and stuff like that. But give me just a second. Now my computer is going to run slow all of a sudden. Come on. And of course, it's going to take forever. So I may have to come back to this. Let me try a different. Maybe it's just the website. Come on. Well, that's weird. Huh. One of the videos I saved, the account is now private. So I wouldn't be able to show you guys that video anymore. Which is odd. Okay, here's one that I think is this is not the one I was going to show you guys, but I still think it's interesting. Let me see if I can get you guys. Hopefully you guys can see that. And I might remove. Is it going to work? Hmm. Can you guys still hear me? Because it doesn't look like I'm popping up on the screen anymore. I'm still having those issues that I've been having with this system. Oh, there it goes. Let's see. There we go. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this fella. Is he going to play? Come on. Okay. Well, I guess we're not going to be sharing any clips tonight. I not a fan of that. Let's see. Is this thing? Okay, now it's all shutting down. I can't even get the chat back up, which is a problem that we've been having. I've been fighting this battle with this system for a while now. I might need to run a hardwire cable to our router. Maybe that's the issue. But when I do internet speed tests, um, it does fine. Let's see, it says I'm getting 30 megabytes or megabits per second, 40. And then for upload, I'm getting almost 10. It says 8, 8.8, 9.2. So it's not the internet. That's the issue. So I don't know. Anyway, let me go to this other you guys aren't going to be able to see it because the system is not operating correctly now, but I do have another story here where it talks about AI and how it's transforming field operations in our trade. It says as industries across the globe continue to evolve, the field service sector is no exception, with AI leading the charge in this transformation. AI is revolutionizing field services significantly. Let me see if I can find the highlights of this so we don't have to go through everything here. It says that as industries across the globe continue to evolve, the field service sector is no exception. AI is leading the charge in the transformation. AI is revolutionizing field services, significantly improving operational efficiency, customer satisfaction, and even enabling predictive maintenance. This technological shift is proving to be a game changer for businesses involved in HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and other service oriented industries, helping them achieve up to 30% more efficiency. The impact of AI on field service efficiency, one of the most profound AI in the field service, lies in its ability to enhance efficiency. um, is this thing gonna? No, it's not operate. I was checking to see if I can get it to work again. One of the most profound AI AI driven systems have been scheduling and dispatching more accurate and effective by analyzing various factors like technician availability, skill sets, and real time traffic conditions. AI ensures the right technician reaches the right place at the right time. This not only reduces travel time and idle periods, but also increases the number of jobs completed daily. Yeah, I think that's pretty neat, especially if AI can take some things into account that because I think a human could say, okay, I know what the strengths are of my technicians, and I see this technician is in this part of the city, and this one's in this part of the county, and let me send them here because they're closer. I think a human could do those things, but when AI can take certain things into account, even like traffic, right? So like when I GPS somewhere and so for example, when I do have a class in Virginia Beach and I live north of the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, uh I'll put it in my GPS. I know how to get there, but I'll put in my GPS because my GPS will say, "Uh-oh, there's a wreck there. It's backed up with traffic. Let's instead take you this other route and go through the Monitor Merrimack Bridge Tunnel instead." And I think that would be kind of neat if it has those abilities and other things like that. Moreover, AI automates repetitive tasks such as inventory management by predicting stock needs and handling reorders. This ensures that technicians always have the necessary parts, further minimizing downtime and enhancing overall productivity. That is also pretty cool. I remember years ago, so there's a lot of companies that have consignment programs and they call it different things, but it's basically where the company can have a stock of parts, and if they use one of those parts, then the company that supplies their parts will then charge them for that. They're not charged for it until they actually use it. It's just sitting on the shelf, but then also replenish that stock. And I remember years ago going to I was working for a plumbing company, and we went there to do some work at an apartment complex, and they had these parts on. It was basically the same thing, but everything was barcoded. So if the maintenance guy went in there and he grabbed a part, he would just run it under the thing and it would immediately charge him and get a new one ordered to be delivered in a couple days. So that way he was just constantly and it was no extra work other than he grabbed the part. He was already going to be walking out the door anyway, probably locking it behind himself and just quickly running that barcode under a scanner before he stepped out of the door. It's just so if there's abilities on that front and helping replenish stock, I mean that's pretty cool. Customer satisfaction is paramount in the service industry, and AI tools are playing a crucial role in enhancing it by providing faster and more accurate problem diagnosis. Still trying to get my screen to work here, guys. I'm sorry. Wonder. I think the last it says now Sam says I'm buffering. Am I still buffering, Sam? I am so sorry, guys. um if I the last time if I hit that reload on this page, this is what it was doing to me a couple weeks ago. And if I hit reload, then I lose everything. And then I have to do a completely start over and do a computer reboot. And that's not fun. So Ryan says no buffering on my stream. Um let's see. Let me get back to our questions here because I have gotten a little behind there reading some of that stuff and trying to get this thing to operate. Ryan says, I see videos where companies are using this new equipment. Oh, we already went over that. Let's see. What happened with R22 phase down as well? Greatly appreciate y'all's hard work and support. Thanks, Smokey. Have a great day. Says he's got to go. Josh, is the Daikin 1 thermostat for your atmosphere wirelessly hooked up to the mini split, or is it hardwired? It's hardwired. You have to have an adapter to get the Daikin 1. I forget the part number, but there's a specific adapter too that you have to use, but it is hardwired. Fisher, I don't think I've seen your name before, so welcome to the show. Is there no more PSC blower motor for new HVAC? All ECM blower motors. For the most part, yes. So when we went to SEER 2 in 2023, as I understand it, there's exceptions to that rule, probably with package units and different parts of the country. But for the most part, at least where I'm located, systems are pretty much ECMs across the board. Gary says, hey, Josh and friends, late night on work on the road, but made it before the conclusion. Hey, Gary, you are burning the midnight oil, pal. Yeah, glad you're here. I've been doing more polls, and I'm not going to be able to show that either, probably because my computer is being dumb. But let me go to one of our recent polls that we did on our channel, and so you guys know, these polls that I'm doing, they're not just for fun. A lot of the polls that we're doing play a big role and how and we and what content we are going to make in the future. So, for example, the latest poll that I searched is how did you find our channel? 52% of the folks that answered that said that we came up in a search. So, that's interesting. Interesting to know. Second place, 23% said that they were just browsing and they saw this fat face, right? 16% of people said suggested content, and then everyone else says feed or somewhere else. So that's good to know. You know, when I get data like that, it tells me that if most people are finding us because they searched something, then I need to find out what people are searching. Does that make sense? So, as I said, these polls that we put on our channel, please take a moment to answer them because they do. We are not just always asking them. Some of them are probably for entertainment purposes. Like one of them I asked is, what brand did you select the last time you replaced your system? And so that was, interesting just for more entertainment and just kind of just out of curiosity more than anything. Um, and so, yeah, I think that if you guys do see one of our polls pop up, I've got a few coming up in the future that are going to play a big role in our upcoming videos that we are making for our channel. So, um, sorry, I'm just reading through a few other things here. So, that said, Ryan says, do those ECM surge protectors that plug and play directly into the blower motors help with preventing ECM blower failures? I'll be honest with you, Ryan, I've never messed with one of those. We always did the external ones that you would add to the line voltage wiring. So I've just never personally messed with one, and I don't know how good or bad they are. I mean, I would assume they're better than nothing. Um, but I am not very familiar with those. But I do know what you're talking about. I know Zebra makes one. Um, there's a couple of them out there, but I think Mars makes one. But I've just never messed with one. We've always done our surge protection on the external part of the unit, so that's interesting. Have you messed with one? I'm just out of curiosity. Um, Fisher says I heard ECM blower motors only last around 10 years and are expensive. You heard right, pal. I mean, I don't know that they last any less than a PSC motor, but they are expensive. They are more expensive. PSC motors are pretty budget friendly in comparison, but that's the world we live in now, right? Where they make our decisions for us. um let's see. Yeah, I don't know why this thing. Let's see. Can I do if I click that, stop sharing. Will that work? Share. I don't know. I normally have the little chat, right here, but it's just not working right now. Fisher says my PSC motor in 2006 still original ICP. Yeah, you can still get PSC motors. In fact, I would say that a lot of heating and air guys are still using them. That a lot of heating and air guys in certain situations are still putting them in. We had one years ago that the customer had, I don't remember if it was a static issue or what, but they had a blower motor failure, and it was a Bryant, and we called to get the part, and it was going to take a couple days, and it was for a like I don't want to call it a bed and breakfast. It's somewhere between a bed and breakfast and a hotel, because they're not really a hotel either. But anyway, they were not a fan of having no AC in their building for a couple days, and so we ended up, um, the last company they were using before us had put a motor in there, and now we had found another dead motor. And so I told him, I was like, well, I could put a PSC motor in here with a relay. It's not going to be as efficient, but it'll work, and I can get you on today. And so that's one example I can think of just off the top of my head where we did that. I haven't messed with the ECM surge protectors, but was thinking of buying one for my system. Fisher says, can you modify an ECM blower to PSC blower on to new union? Yeah, you would just have to add controls. That's what I was talking about. So I added a relay to control that. Josh, to put a smile on your face, we had lunch in a large room with a Daikin 24,000 BTU split air handler on the wall, and I thought of you. That does put a smile on my face. Ryan says, I see some contractors converting ECM motors to PSC to help customers that can't afford an ECM motor out of warranty. Yeah, that's another good point. The price. So if you've got a PSC motor that you can get them going quickly and save them a couple bucks, maybe, obviously it's not going to be as efficient, but maybe that's the route they decide to go. Let's do this as we wrap up. If you know we know there's some bad ones, right? We know some bad heating and air, plumbing or electrical companies that are out there. If you know a good one, if you know a good Apple, let's show them some love. Share the name of that company as we wrap up tonight's show in the chat and where they're located. You may do number one, let's show them some love. Let's put a light on those good ones. But the other thing is, you never know. Someone in your area may see your comment, and you may actually send more than love to that company, send a little business their way. As I do wrap up, we recently launched, if you guys didn't see it, we launched a video this past week, and I was so excited making that video. And I hope you could notice that as I was recording that video, how excited I was, because when I help people on our website, New HVAC Guide, and I hear comments on our channel all the time, One of the biggest issues, and as Steve says, hit that like button. And thanks for hanging out, Steve. Have a great night and good luck in your new job, by the way. Um, but one of the biggest problems we see in our industry is load calculations that either the contractor didn't do it, the homeowner didn't want to pay for it, the whatever the situation is. It's usually the first one. Usually the contractor is not doing it. They're using rule of thumb, or they're just going by what was there before if they're replacing, or whatever the reason is, they are not doing proper load calculations. And so we did a video this past week. I got really excited while I was recording it because for the first time I can finally I have talked to multiple folks over the years, but I finally found the guy. I found someone that I trust. I know he's going to do a good job. He's going to take good care of folks. He's not going to cut corners, and he's going to do a proper load calculation for those homeowners. And so if you haven't seen that video, check it out. Hit the like button on that video if you do nothing else, even if you're not even in the market for a heating and air system. The video, let me find the name of it because it's not called I think it's like the biggest mistake or something like that, because it is the biggest mistake that we keep seeing. It's called The Biggest Mistake Homeowners Don't Know Contractors Are Making. That's the name of that video. So go to that video and click the like button because I really want that video. Again, even if you're not in the market for a heating and air system currently, I want that video to get out to everybody because now folks have a way. They have a way to make sure that that load calculation is done. It's done correctly. And they also know moving forward, whether the old system was sized properly or not, that the new system will be. And as they gather quotes from all these different contractors, that they're comparing apples to apples. They're not going to have one contractor say, "Oh, I'm going to quote a 4-ton system," and then the next one come behind them and say, "I'm going to quote a 3-ton system." They're going to be able to say, "Okay, my load calculation says I'm supposed to have a 3-ton system. I want to quote on 3-ton system. Give me your best price." I can compare apples to apples now. And so um, that's something we can do now. Go to that video. We're also going to end up putting a link on our website for that. But that's something that's done third party. I found a really awesome guy, and he's the one that's taking care of all of that. So pretty happy about that. Gary says, showing some love to my guys over at A Plus HVAC in Westfield, Massachusetts. So hey to those guys. You must be doing something right. Gary is calling you out. Fisher wants to know, are we going to do this every Tuesday? And the answer is yes. Every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. And we're here. I mean, I can't say we're here absolutely every single Tuesday, but I can tell you out of the 52 weeks in a year, I bet 50 of them I'm here. Um, I I've been very diligent. And even there has been some weeks where it was just me that showed up, that nobody else was here, and I called it off because of it or whatever. But I'm here. I'm here just about every single week. Um, Saving gas, not saving money. I hope Cortland from HVAC Technology reaches out. I'm excited about the next PM that he'll do on my system, and I'll see a Measure Quick report for the first time on my system. Very cool. Yeah. So you have Cortland actually doing your work then, Ryan. That's really cool. So I remember you saying he was local to you, but the fact that you actually have him doing your work, how cool is that? So all right. Well, that said, we will be back next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. In the meantime, make it a great week. We'll see you then. Take care.